Hello everyone, this is Kaizouwar here, and I thought it'd be interesting to look back on BlazBlue cover art. And I wanted to start with Calamity Trigger since it's the first game in the series, and yeah, pretty much. So I wanted to go all the way back to when Calamity Trigger was first released on consoles in Japan. And that's why I was like, you know what, let's look at the original console artwork and just look at it, just to bask it in, look at all this. We got Jin, we got Noel, and we got Ragnar with his with his creepy red eye. Honestly, Ragnar here, he could pass for the villain, I could just, like, if he wasn't the main character, or like if he was like a villainous, like a truly villainous main character, he would look the part definitely. The one thing that gets me about this art is that they all look like they're from different artworks, because this Noel and this Jin, they look alike. I know Mori drew this artwork, but it looked like Noel came from something else entirely and Jin came from something else. And one thing that bugs me about some of these artworks, like, they're not separate, like not all of them are separate. I remember there was a time in BlazBlue Continuum Shift where they were able to make all the artwork separate. Like they had separate artworks and then put them together to make the cover. And I wish more BlazBlue games did that, because there's too many good artworks that I just cannot see by itself. That makes me sad. Oh look, it's the Xbox 360 version of the Japanese copy of BlazBlue Calamity Trigger. It's literally the same artwork. I mean, they just swapped Noel and Jin around. No, but seriously, I do like this. I do like the fact that they use Hakumen and Nu, because hey, it's funny. Like, not only does it tie back to those characters, but Hakumen and Nu are technically the boss characters of this game. And I kind of like the idea they used them to parallel both Nu and parallel both Noel and Jin to Nu and Hakumen. I like that. And on top of that, they're the boss characters, so that kind of also changes up things too. Ragnar's still the same. His red eye, he's still the same. And I apologize if some of these pictures are low quality. There's no higher quality of those versions of some of these pictures out on the internet, and it bumps the shit out of me. And here we have the North American box art for the PS3 version of BlazBlue Calamity Trigger. I think the Xbox has the same one too, but the point is, I've never seen it in person before. Because I bought one of those GameStop copies of Calamity Trigger that has that generic game cover on it where all you have is the goddamn the name of the game, just BlazBlue Calamity Trigger and black text. But yeah, this is what I meant by wanting the character art separate, right? All this character art looks really good, and I know they're not they're just drawn there for the hell of it, and they're not all separate character art. But I really wish some of them were made separated so we could look at it, because the only game that comes to mind when they made separate character art like that is, for some reason, Continuum Shift. Continuum Shift is the only game that had character artwork separate when they had some of these box art. Not all of them, but I think Calamity Trigger 2 and Extend had it, and it bums the shit out of me. And they even had alternate artwork, because I like the way this stuff looks. And I know some of it, it's not really meant to be separate, because look at Tao here. Look at that, just sticking out of Rachel like that. So I know it's not all separate, but still, I would have loved that. I would have loved it, but oh well, we can't get everything we want. Okay, so I kind of lied about that whole Xbox 360 thing. This is the North American box art for Calamity Trigger and the Xbox 360. It looks simple, pretty simple, but simple yet effective. The funny thing about this stuff is Mori draws a lot of artwork, and not just Mori, but people on the ARCSYS and staff. They draw a lot of artwork with Ragnar, Jin, and Noel together. Fair enough. They're the main three characters. So whenever I look at just the three of them on a cover or something, it just makes me think of that artwork. So the thing in the back of my head is thinking, okay, they already had artwork of them drawn out, but it wasn't for a cover or anything, right? So they just reused it and just slapped the logo on them and put them in the same background that the other characters are in. I don't know. That's probably not what they did, but that's what makes me fun. That makes me laugh just thinking about it. At least the artwork looks good, though. This artwork looks good. Seeing Ragnar smile in these early artworks, it just feels weird, because in the other games, he just always has a frown on his face, where it's just a look of indifference. So, poor Rags, he's only allowed to smile in the first games. Only on the covers. But it feels weird. It just feels weird that these games were on the Xbox in general. I know ARCSYS put a lot of games on Xbox and whatnot. Fair enough. But it just feels weird, It just feels weird. Nowadays, it feels weird, because, Central Fiction never got an Xbox, CrossTech never got an Xbox, stuff like that. And most likely the next BlazBlue game won't be on an Xbox. It'll probably be on PS4 and maybe Switch if we're lucky. But you know, just saying, it still feels weird to see the Xbox, like just anything Xbox on these covers, man. Okay, so this is the European cover for BlazBlue Calamity Trigger. And when I look at it, let's just pretend we don't know what BlazBlue is. Let's just pretend BlazBlue doesn't exist, right? And we're going to pick up this game for the first time. We look around at a game store, we see this. My first instinct would be a shooting game. I mean, the girl with 2 guns, she looks like an officer, right? Maybe it's a police kind of game, or like a shooting game, or like maybe she's part of this organization that has a bunch of, you know, gunners out there. You know, they could be anything. But a fighting game is not the first thing I would go to. I mean, at least with the other covers that I've seen so far, I can technically say, yeah, this could be a fighting game. There's all this roster of characters. They look like they're fighting game characters. They could probably be fighting game characters. But when I see Noelle on this cover, I'm like, like, what is this? Like, who and what is this? My first instinct is a shooting game. That's literally literally a first-person shooter. That's the first thing I go to. That's literally the first thing. Maybe anime girls are going to shoot up some stuff. And I can't even tell, oh, Noelle has the anime look. She reminds me of, her face, like, outright reminds me of one of those older, like, early 2000s, like, anime games where, like, not even mid 2000s, I think, like, mid-90s? I want to say mid-90s. Because, like, they always had these magical girls and shit, had these big-ass eyes and these weird-looking faces back in the day. Like, in some, like, cheaper produced anime. And that's what it reminds me of. So, like, just mix that with shooting, and you got, like, 90s anime girl shooters. There's not much for me to say here, because this is just, you know, an emblem and just the logo, but, you know, yeah. The cover looks good, at least, you know. The white does look good. And they use a lot of white for these backgrounds in some BlazBlue games. So, and they've also put a sigil and an emblem back there. So, it's not a bad cover, it's just simple, and I have nothing much to say about it. It looks good. It looks good. That's all I can really say. And then we have BlazBlue Calamity Trigger Portable, the PSP port of BlazBlue Calamity Trigger. Now, I'm sorry if the artwork's a little blurry. I can't, you know, again, not very high quality pictures sometimes, but I like the way this looks, because not only they position New next to Noelle, but they also position Hakumen next to Jin. And the one thing I like about this is that it's still the same position, not the exact same, but it's still the same feeling as you get if you had those 2 covers. Like the first 2 covers, the first Japanese ones, right? First 2 Japanese ones, which had, you know, the first one had Ragna, Jin, and Noelle, and the next one had Ragna, New, and Hakumen. And I like the idea of them putting them in the positions they were, but with different characters at the side. I kind of like that. They don't put the exact same positions, because Jin and Hakumen Noelle and Jin are reversed in this one instead of the original Japanese one they were in for the PS3. But still, I like the fact that they put them together like this, because it shows that, you know, there's something between these characters, and you really wouldn't know that if you didn't play the game yet. But it outright just straight up tell you there's something between these characters. And there was hints dropping it in the first 2 covers, but now you fully see it, and I like that. I like this cover, I really do. Like, it's not much. It's like I can repeat the same thing each and every time, but it looks good. It looks good, and it's telling you something. I like when these covers tell me something, you know? Sometimes BlazBlue games just like, when they get a new cover for like characters, like newer games and stuff like that. Well, not exactly newer games. I mean, like, let's say Calamity Trigger and Chrono Phantasma Central Vision will come out for the first time. The characters that will end up on those covers are like the brand new characters and Ragna, Jin, and Noelle, right? Maybe another character that's involved with the plot in some form, right? So, you know, it's like, you know, the same thing they do every time. It's like, oh, we add new characters in because they're new characters. They, you know, should be on the cover. But I don't know. I like this. It's simple but effective, and I love it. And even though I love the previous one, I don't like this one. Considering the way the logo looks and how Noelle is drawn, I can only assume that this is the European, you know, the Peggy 12 down there. I can only assume that this is the European version, the European PSP version of BlazBlue Calamity Trigger, because, I mean, it has the same logo as the PC one I saw earlier. And on top of that, Noelle looks kind of different. I don't know who's doing the art for these. Who's doing the art for the European games, maybe? Blurry Ragna here. He looks all right, you know, he's just standing there. Noel looks god awful. I don't know what they were going for. And these European copies of these games are so misleading. Like, again, as I said before, at least when I look at the other covers, I can kind of think it's a fighting game. You know, I can kind of get the idea of it being a fighting game in my head without even knowing about what BlazBlue is beforehand, right? But when I look at these, I'm like, what is this? What are these supposed to be? Who's in Europe trying to buy these games and think, oh, this is the new hit fighting game, BlazBlue? This is not a fighting game. I don't know what it's supposed to be. At least with the one I saw earlier, the European one I saw earlier, I could kind of understand, like, even if it's not, I couldn't guess it was a fight game at first. I kind of like, okay, it could be a shooter, whatever, but I have no idea what this could be. Nothing. This one could work. This could be like a Square Enix game. I don't know why. Just like, or something else. Like there's something wrong with this girl. Maybe she's the main character, and this guy here, I don't know. Like, I'm trying to think about like a freaking dumbass story this could work in. Like, Noelle here looks like she could be the main character considering the way she's positioned, right? Ragnar's just in the back vibing. He's just there. We don't know what his deal is, but he looks like he could be the main character. But who's this girl? Maybe she's important to the plot. I don't know. I couldn't tell you. And the freaking, you get the logo and then the logo. I like how basic these logos are for these games. Just BlazBlue in different colors, and then Calamity trigger in this text, and you just see the sigil back there just vibing, and then the stuff down here. But hey, I can't tell it's a fighting game because they directly tell me down here. By far the best fighting game on the PSP. The cover had to tell me that. God damn it. The cover had to tell me it was a fighting game. Shit, man. So the European cover was actually done by someone named Radiant Dreamer, and I kind of wanted to check out exactly why and how it came to be, because for once there's actually kind of a history to this sort of thing. I actually wanted to take like a little side trip, a quote-unquote side trip, to check out the actual site that Radiant Dreamer had to look at the more of the artwork, because I really want to talk about it more regards to European covers. And even though I, kind of insulted them and was a little bit harsh on before, I wanted to at least look into the history of this stuff, right? It says, wonder how it was made. Now that BlazBlue has been officially released in Europe, this was back in 2010, I am opening up this post with some interesting details and of course a YouTube video of how it was done. I'll check out the YouTube video like some other time, but I want to read this forum here. A while back, NeoGAF was hosting a contest for ARCSYS vs. Europe, or Zen United. At the time, I wanted to create a cover piece as close to the style of the original artwork as possible, and came up with two images. So there's one with Noelle, which actually looks really good. I like this Noelle one. The first one was this Noelle Vermilion. Rather than double posting, check out the post here on her, and I'll look that one up later. I'll look at that after I'm done with this video. I don't want to clutter this video because I'm going way off topic of what I was originally going to do. The second one was Ragnar the Blood Edge. Again, the post for that can be found here. Initially, I was planning to draw several characters and composite them together into one cohesive cover, but that idea was shot down due to some miscommunication, and the style and inspiration for the cover was revealed. So I was back to the drawing board, and I spit this cover out, which I like. I like this one. Honestly, I kind of wish this one was in the cover, but, I'm not going to trip about it. This one actually looks really good. You just couldn't have the Radiant Dreamer name there. Actually, this was somewhat modified version of it, using the final font that Zen United used for the final cover and their website, but I prefer this font anyway. This was my submission for the contest. It was up to NeoGAF users to vote on their favor. Winner got their art on the cover. It was some other unspecified prizes. I haven't got any prizes yet, but that doesn't matter. There are more important things going on. There was a landslide victory. My cover won to a ratio about 2-to-1 from runner-up. If I recall correctly, Zen United contacted me and said they loved the cover, but wanted to experiment and commission me to attempt a second piece using Noelle instead. Over the course of the new project, I had developed a very good working relationship. This was my submission to them, and this was the European cover for BlazBlue Calamity Trigger. And that's what we got today. Now, you may have noticed if you've seen a European cover, that's quite different. I'm not sure whether this cover art will actually cut as marketable cover art, but I did like the result of it. Some changes were made to make it more marketable, including color saturation, tweaking the gun to be closer to the original, and changing the logos and stuff, and many more. When the cover was announced, it seemed that the reactions were quite polar. Some people loved it, some people hated it. The NeoGAF community, however, seemed to have felt betrayed. For good reason, too. Since all of them voted unanimously for the Ragnar cover to begin with. A big hoopla resulted from that, and I had to basically jump in and cool it down, though it's probably only mildly effective. Yeah, that's how it ends up, huh? Grab the pic of the actual box of the interwebs is still blowing my mind. In all honesty, I don't mind. There are always haters and people who think the cover art not using the official art stinks, and it's understandable why. I've seen my fair share of what I consider bad cover art. Just the fact that my art mixing on cover makes me happy enough. Well, if you happen to have bought the Europe release and don't like my cover or the Rock'em Up cover better, I've created some custom covers specifically for the GAF collection thread, and that's how it all ends there. You know, honestly, even though the cover may not be the European cover may not be my favorite, I have mad respect for Radiant Dreamer for being able to win a contest and have their own artwork on an official cover. Not too many people can actually say that, and I kind of like that, you know? It may not be, it's like, again, it may not be my favorite, but I do hold some respect for that. That's actually pretty cool. Like, hell, that would have been, like, if I was an artist, I would have lost my shit if one of my covers ever got selected to be on any country's, like, front-facing, you know, if anything. You know, like, if anyone wanted to buy one of my, buy a game from a company, right? And I had artwork for it on a cover, and people would know it through that, I would have completely lost my shit, and I would have been so happy. I would have been so happy, holy crap. And that's it for the video, everyone. It was supposed to be pretty simple, just me looking at art, because it's funny just seeing how Calamity Trigger started out and how, you know, these characters were meant to be seen by a first-time person, first-time fan at least, because, you know, first game and all. I might do the other games if this video does well enough, because I like looking at these things. I just love looking at BlazBlue art, because it's really funny just to look at it. Sometimes you get really good art, and sometimes you get the European copies of these games looking weird as shit. But yeah, I'll see y'all next time. Peace, everyone, and I hope y'all have a great day.